Milan, so can you tell us when was your first project?
1999, when I started to be focused to make research. I made decision to try with hydrogen production. When I was a teenager, I tried to invent new type of rechargeable battery. I used 2 copper plates. Electrolyte was zinc sulfate. So when it's charging, zinc from solution will go on the negative plate of negative plate of copper, which is negative, cover electroplating copper with zinc, and then solution will have more sulfuric acid, less zinc sulfate, and when it's discharging, the zinc will go back in solution, and voltage difference will be 1 volt, like Alexander Volta battery. Okay, like young guy, we could say it's a good idea, but there are some advantages, but also so many disadvantages. So I was thinking then to continue, but when I started, then 1999, I said, okay, it's better to go to hydrogen production. There is a problem with electrolysis because there is minimum voltage that you must apply to get electrolysis. So voltage difference between hydrogen and oxygen is 1.3 volts. We should add over voltage or supertension of electrode. So let's say for platinum is 0.09, I think. Copper and so on. Let's say for nickel is about 0.44. Solution has also minimum voltage. Let's say sodium hydroxide has 169 volts. Sulfuric acid also has the same. So let's say that, so what we have 169 for solution plus 0.44 for one, 40 in another, then there will not be huge current. So mostly electrolyzer work now. They work about 2.2 volts up to 2.2 volts. Below 1.23 volts, and electrolyzer works like capacitor. Why? Because it's a free energy of formation zone, which means that oxidation of anode will not happen. So I choose then to change approach, let's say to invest anode, which means that on the end I will lose anode, but I will control with electricity. For anode, there was, I think there were some patents. One guy from England, I think that it is Cornish, he made what he used. By electricity, he was hitting aluminum wire in the, this is drum, which is rotating drum. It is aluminum wire in solution. It could be water or it could be salty water, any. So he applied, so it is not electrolysis, it is heating aluminium, and aluminium react. We take oxygen from water and release hydrogen. There was rumored that he drive car by his device, but on the end he disappeared. There is another method for anode. It is to use iron, to use oxidation iron. So over here we'll invest aluminium, and then we'll get sodium aluminate. And there is a problem with that. What to do with that after? With iron is similar problem. Third version is to use carbon, and there was something like city gas by two carbon rods. They are on the beginning touching. On about 40 volts is something else in the water, and then produce gap, and there will be plasma. So product is hydrogen, oxygen, methane, carbon oxide, carbon monoxide, and many organic compounds. And it was violent and not efficient way. There is a mechanic version where you apply what is the problem for electrolysis and for battery? During when you use them, because positive ions go into negative electrode and vice versa, it kills dipole from the beginning. So depolarization, we have to some chemicals to insert to make it in depolarization, and it complicates the things. But depolarization can happen with mechanical movement of solution. If you apply vibration, then you need to invest energy. But one guy had patent to put electrodes vertically like this. So it is pipe, and electrodes was like this with holes, many holes. So he apply air, and the bubbles remove hydrogen, oxygen from the plates, and it helps. Or it can be by some design, your gas production can pass 2 cycles and do that. But I didn't like none of them. Sounds not promising. Then I came to idea to not to invest anode. I came to idea to invest solution, electrolyte. And then the best choice which I got in that time was hydrogen peroxide. Why? Because hydrogen peroxide is anorganic, and when it's decomposed, it produces water, oxygen, and release 170 joules. So it's looked to me like a very good idea. So I made cells. So I use the same like this, just was hydrogen peroxide, 30% concentration, and I use inert electrodes. Working with hydrogen peroxide is anyway very demanding. Why? Because 40 degrees will make violent reaction. Does silver, silver also do that. So it's that's why I needed to work with that very, very carefully. So I made test, test, am I right? So I apply voltage and apply the power supply, and I got the same amount of gases on both electrodes. Then I was thinking, that's it, because hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, so it should be the same amount of bubbles of gas. And I worked then to stabilize somehow. It was a very hard job. Many times during, what I also noticed, I can make gas production below 1 volt, which is, I was thinking, wow, it is that great idea, the great discovery. Because then we will get cheap hydrogen. And but when during experiments, very often happens suddenly, it's just boil. And I'm working to solve that. There is some chemicals to be when you add, it makes more stable, more stable. And when I get that all day testing without boiling, then I was thinking that I solved the problem. But next morning when I came in lab, overnight something triggered hydrogen peroxide and it boiled, and there was solution everywhere. With some reason, I don't know why, because I have hydrogen detector, let's say, I said, let's be sure that I have hydrogen. And when I tested, it was big surprise, big disappointed. I didn't have hydrogen. It was all oxygen. It was painful, but gave me some silly idea that if I had on both electrodes oxygen, seems that hydrogen peroxide or any solution is splitting on an anode. Just to tell you, when we get some idea and we discover something, it doesn't mean that our explanation is correct. When we are getting idea how much we are capable to understand, but maybe it is the way to discover something which we are not capable with knowledge which we have personally. So what I'm saying, that idea that maybe it is now how we learn in the school that anode maybe is the place where is solution electrolyte is splitting, led me forward to research and got something but I will speak now. Because I failed here, then I made a decision to make some replica from internet. And then I found brown gas generator invented by Yul Brown, Bulgarian guy who was working in Australia. And he uses, actually he was not original, it was not his idea. He had patent, but first patent one guy from America, Rhodes, William Rhodes, in 60s made this very similar. So the concept is to have many. Actually, it could be brown gas. It is the last one, which actually not. We made this 2003 maybe. Okay, there are so many plates. And with 3 mm distance between. And just last two are connected to power supply, and it is serial cells. So that means that low current, then each cell will produce hydrogen and oxygen, and it will collect in output has here. Yul Brown make fantastic claim about properties of the gas, and also he made 1 liter of mixture of hydrogen oxygen for 3 watts. 3 watts, 3.2 watts. In that time, it was a great breakthrough. Also, he said that this gas is rather imploding than exploding. Everybody knows that oxygen, hydrogen will explode when ignited. So I was curious, and we make several of them, and we played. Also, some suggested that it must be pulsating input, not steady current. I'm talking what was then, about 2000. It was, and we made actually with this one, we made improvement by usually we just rectify grid voltage with bridge rectify and put capacitor in series for current limitator, and that's it. But for implosion, we rectify, put in filters, and then we switch it with powerful transistors. Transistors was 2.155, and it's simply on-off switching, square wave, and driving frequency was 43 kilohertz, actually 42.8 to be precise. And when we try to ignite that gas, we hear pop, something like this, no explosion. Electrolyzer was there, over here was protective barrier behind, and there was hose about 5 meters, and we saw by that some like lighting bulb passing back to the electrolyzer, and when bulb went in electrolyzer, then electrolyzer stopped to work. There wasn't current at all, maybe 5-10 seconds, and start again. And we tried 5 times. So we did that, it's true, but I wasn't interested forward to test my luck. So, I was rather to explore it better. Then I found in chemistry, the electrochemistry, what could be answer. In electrochemistry is chapter about active hydrogen. They notice when hydrogen produced with anode, cathode, which has higher, like I said here, for nickel is 0.44, and if they use, let's say, lead or zinc or mercury, they have very high, let's say about 1.7, so it's much higher, 1.76 volts. That hydrogen is more active than hydrogen produced with nickel or silver electrode. There are two explanations why it's happening, but they didn't in that time. But they didn't make final agreement. One day, one guy from Canada came to me. He worked for a company about hydrogen production, and his chairman sent him to give me offer. Before we talk about his offer, we spoke about exactly this. I read this chapter from chemistry to him, and then I get vision how it works. Maybe I'm not right, but it was my vision. Let's say platinum has 0.09. And also, maybe many of you knows that platinum can absorb hydrogen about 700 bigger volume that it has. So which means that platinum works like sponge for hydrogen. Hydrogen penetrate easy in the strict crystal structure of platinum. By having higher supertension or over voltage for cathode, then the cathode is more dense for hydrogen ions, and it works like something solid, like concrete. And so, which means, let's say it is hydrogen ions, and it hits the cathode, then ripples was produced. That ripples is something like X-ray, but much, much lower in energy. Let's say that cannot pass outside of electrolyzer, but which means that hydrogen get initial vibration, and that vibration then has more activity. I come to idea that instead of chasing to get more gas than further law of electrolysis predict, maybe the goal should be to get less gas but more active. During 80s in Yugoslavia was advertisement for wine with this drink little but drink good. So I inspired by this. By that, I gave the name for that gas, drink DLDG gas. And I asked, because on the beginning, first 10 years, I was self-funded researcher, and I asked, is anybody interested to support this idea? As I said, I came to idea to not chasing gas production, which is limited by Faraday law about electrolysis. So to be focused on less gas production, but with more powerful hydrogen to develop new technology. I had idea So then it is the first time that I was thinking about that ripples, and that's why actually this series is about subtle energy ripples. Um, if we analyze what is the rule, because if when we increase supertension of cathode, which means that we increase the resistance in electric stems impedance of a circuit, and then it is reaction. It is actually that back reaction, and that ripples are capable to do things. By coincidence, I received email from your brown daughter. Actually, she said that she is your brown daughter. I don't know. I didn't check. She wanted to work with me because she said it's so sad that her father died without money and family has no money. So which means she needed me I to finance things. But I needed someone to invest in that research, so it didn't work. We didn't make agreement. Back to guy who came from Canada, his chairman gave chairman for his company gave interview in local media that they are working on electrolyzer with 1 watt only for liter of gas. I said, "Oh, how are you doing that?" He said, "No, we have no idea. We are not working." He just gave something which is not true. And he faced with problem, and he sent him to give me offer to work on that project, and they offered me huge money. And I said, okay, maybe I could help you. I was in mind about aluminium, which I said. I had idea, and I made a report for them how by using 2 aluminium electrodes with baking soda, sodium hydroxide, this similar solution, to get with very lower amount energy liter of gas, but they will lose electrodes, and they respond, no, there must be no consumption of electrodes or solution. Then I reject offer. They said, well, why? I said, I'm not sure that anybody can do. So it's not the point to take money for something that I can't do. Week after, I got another offer from another guy to make replica of Steinmeier electrolyzer. I knew about Steinmeier roughly. Then I saw there is something maybe similar. There are some policies, blah, 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 and maybe he is working using that principle which I working. And I made a replica. I read all documents, which patents, which was I found at that time, and then I gave up because I found that perhaps it is scam. I know people who believe in Steinmeier's story, he will believe forward. But I didn't see nothing because there are so many lies and so many not correct. Okay, forget about it. So then I make decision I will go alone on my own. The first thing after that, what I did, I made experimental electrolyzer where I have asymmetric surface. So let's say one electrode was with much bigger surface than another. And to get on a smaller electrode to get higher density of current. So if you ask me, can I get more gas from one cell, which means one cathode, one anode, more than Faraday law predict? I will say yes. If you ask me, do I'm breaking the law of Faraday law of electrolysis? I will say no. Sounds tricky, but it's true. I will explain why. So when I start to use thinner and thinner electrolytes, say bigger one, this one, and then more. And when you invest more energy, then there will be much greater production here than is not ratio 2 and 1 for water. When I tested where should be only oxygen, if it is anode, there should be only oxygen. When I take this gas and separate and tested, there was hydrogen. So what could happen? How I can explain? Maybe I can't, but I will try. My understanding was like this. By the way, just to tell you that analog electric circuit or electrolyzer is like this. It is anode, space between cathodes. So when it will be our cathode. It will be tiny anode. How we increase the current by electrolyte or by more voltage which draw more current will be high density of bubbles. And then that bubbles will react almost like virtual electrodes. And they will, so if it is oxygen, then it will be hydrogen around. And basically, it is the principles. When one guy from England came to me to help me about some experiments, and I showed this to him, and he said, I do not believe. You cannot have hydrogen on anode. When we make tests together, he said, it's true, but I do not understand how. I explained this, I'm not saying that I'm right, but the fact you will get, if it is hydrogen, there will be oxygen. It depends which electrode you. using. So then I start to increase forward, and then plasma appears because the formed gases are actually start to be like isolators and created the gaps between electrode and solution. And then electric discharge will appears and the plasma will created. But for that you need minimum 180 volts, no matter AC or DC. Because I had idea why I did that. Because I had idea that water is splitting on anode. I came to idea that maybe I do not need cathode. And all these experiments was in that direction. So when I got hydrogen and oxygen over here on anode, then I worked how to avoid cathode at all. Just have one electrode. I did that in two directions. I work with grid voltage over here. Grid voltage in that time was 220 volts. Now it's 230 volts. In England it's 240. So I work with grid voltage and grid frequency. Over here is 50 hertz. Over this frequency is not important, and it could be DC. And another parallel with that, I work with high voltage, which means over 15 kilovolts, and frequency was from 15 to 25 kilohertz. The principle is like this. By the way, in that time, cold fusion in the jar was popular, but I wasn't much interested to work on that like that, but I follow my idea. So what I use, let's say from simply, just to take capacitor, let's say 50 microfarads, block capacitor 50 for starting motor. Don't use electrolyte. Just a second. Maybe I will show later. It's here. Like this, capacitor like this. Over here too, so they are, 50. About 50, so it is grid voltage. It's a grid voltage. So you can use, if you work with two electrodes, when I'm working with grid voltage and grid frequency, I can't work with just one electrode. So then you can use bridge rectifier. So it is for currently, just to avoid short connection, whatever. So on 230, 50 microfarads will provide for about 2.5 amps. So if you want to higher, but you do not need higher current. And then you have jar. So, and two electrodes, like this. So one electrode could be just immersed inside, but when you create plasma, then you find a small tube by dielectric. by glass, by plastic, by silicone holes, whatever. Let's say, imagine this is about 2 millimeters, and just put silicone holes, but you need to make a gap. So let's say if you put a anode to be above, then from the beginning it will draw a little more current and plasma will form, and there will be huge gas production. But you can also, how I did on the beginning, it was my electrode. Over here was air gap. So when connect, then from high voltage from electrode will attack to water, and they produce split the water. With high voltage, I can work with one electrode, so which means there will be just one electrode. It will be, let's say, glass jar. So another could be just plate here outside, but it doesn't have to. It's just to protect your high voltage transformer. Let's say just some, or to wrap outside with aluminum foil. And you will get gas production, not like here, but what I found here. I had problem to find the electric isolator which will last. It burned everything, anything with we ordered special material for India. It was mica with silicone tubes. I still have them. I use, and even porcelain from Spargat will be destroyed. And by chance we sent 4 electrodes to Belgrade to test, make analysis. 2 electrodes, which of 4 was positive on gold. So it means that transmutation happened, but it is in traces. Don't think that you can get something useful out of this. In Belgrade, they tested on 3 different way, and all 3 ways show positive on the gold, where they said that it is high purity of gold. Then it was 2009, then on end of springtime, I think. Then February 2010, we sent to Switzerland, to laboratory on different technology to check what we use. I took one electrode, I cut in 2 pieces, but not identical. Longer was used for like this, shorter was used like for cathode. We got so it means that on the beginning was the same material, like steel. I cut in 2. This one is used like this, and that's why we made different length to to not mix up which one is which. We got a report that this one, which we use here, was that they detected gold and silver in traces. Actually, the guy who hired me to do that, he was interested for that, not me. I knew that you can't get. We are not only one who made transmutation in traces. Everybody who worked with plasma, with cold fusion like this, gets similar results. But there is something that confused me. And it confused me still today. I was using like main chamber where is a plasma test tube, only 5 milliliter. Only 5. There was lead, and there is a glass jar wrapped with aluminum foil. And because it's that there is no anode, there is no cathode, it was high voltage capacitor, 470 picofarads, and a secondary coil of high voltage, high frequency transformer. Over here was also water, and this one is also water. And electrode with silicon holes on it, which has gap, and plasma is forming. Here I use actually not silicon because silicon burn. Glass tube. I have many of them. Small glass tubes. Forget about it. It is 10 centimeters long, 4 millimeter inner diameter. With this setup, sometimes is very hot, sometimes is cold. Not colder than room temperature, but like, so when I'm getting it cold, I had hours and hours and hours is working. There was bubbles all the time, blah, 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 bubbling. And on the end, because it's only 5 milliliters, I have starting, let's say the start was 5 milliliters. After many hours during the day working in cold regime, on the end was again 5 milliliters, which means I didn't spend nothing. But over here was easy to test that there was hydrogen. And I was consumed from where it is because by a roughly calculation, I needed to spend much measurable that I lose water. And to be honest, I didn't believe to myself. But then I read a paper from Kanarev, that Kanarev, people who work with cold fusion know they know Kanarev. Actually, we also have contact with Kanarev and Mitsuno from Japan. Kanarev noticed something similar, and he asked Mitsuno from Japan, and they together tried to explain something about on nuclear level. that to explain why we had hydrogen and oxygen, but no consumption of water. So, of course, that I'm not capable to give an answer. So, yeah, when I do that, I try to make working on without when I try on 50 hertz, whatever. So how, which means what we need to make high resistive to break conduction, to make high resistive to form plasma. So we can do that if we take dielectric, some plastic tube, and drill tiny holes in the wall. Then we will put inner electrode, and it will be another jar where will be another electrode. Connect DC or AC the same. Then we will have plasma on the plastic tube on the holes, mostly on the outer side. And when it happened, the level of inner tube, it is isolated. So the current is passing through tiny holes, and the water level rise up. So seems that plasma goes from that way, seems that it take from here and rise up, and we should care to not overflow here. But we can do on another way. Take one jar, put, let's say, sand, any sand, and put your electrolyte. Put more sand and immerse your electrode to be isolated from the bottom, but over here to be exposed. This one, it doesn't have to go inside, and then plasma will form here, the same. Or you can use cotton. It works the same. Oh, by the way, even the plasma is formed on the PVC tube. The PVC will not burn at all. Over here, the cotton will be the same on the end, like no matter how long you're working. Basically, I think I describe, there are so many things about these things to talk. So basically it is that. Let's make some of what I said. By increasing conductive, actually decreasing conductivity, increasing impedance, increasing resistance, then we will get energy ripples, which are like side effect. Perhaps we have all the time them, but because they are 90 degrees to action. So if it is action what we are making in our circuit, we have 90 degrees that ripples, which we are not detecting or do not care about this. And then I gave name subtle energy ripples. Basically, it is that.
Until next time, then.
Until next time, of course.
Look, there's a...
Okay, just to compare now.
Whoa. Whoa. What's that? What did you do?
High voltage.
Oh, this is a nice sound, eh?
But look at gas production. It's stable.
Yeah.
It is 0.67. Okay.
What do you mean 0.67?
0.6, 0.7.
1.6.
Ah, 1.6. Yes. Now look gas production.
Wait, yeah. It's different, huh?
Different. It is. You saw?
Yeah.
Okay, to stop.
Yeah.
Listen. Hot.
Yeah.
Hot.
Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, it's 70.
But you listen, the electrode was hot.
Yeah. And now?
Now we will change. Now we will have anode. Until now it was cut
Yeah.
and compared. Oh, there's more. And no radiation.
I don't understand. Now I got very good picture.
And not hot. Hi, this is another video about using vitamin C solution in additional bubbler. In originally bubbler I'm using only distilled water, nothing else. Why? Just in case, because vitamin C is acid and maybe will react with container which is metallic, so just to avoid any problem I'm using glass bubbler for that. So this is 300 milliliters bubbler wood with 1 coffee spoon of vitamin C inside. By the time it will turn to sodium ascorbate. It is made, this solution is from today. It is about 1 week old. This one is almost 1 month, but this one is too old. And and do not wait to get that one because it's final. Over here, this one I still can use, but when it turns to gold, yellow, then just in case I stop to using this one and replace with a new solution. So it could help, as I said before in last video, using vitamin C with sodium vapor, which comes together with oxygen and hydrogen, will turns to sodium ascorbate, which is very healthy for lungs and other things. It's a very powerful antioxidant. So that's it. Thank you. This is a schematic for power supply which I use for cold fusion and plasma electrolysis. It's very simple. This one is 400 watts sodium inductor ballast. This is a 70 microfarad capacitor, and there is a bridge 1000 volt 8 amps. This diagram was when I worked with 250, so basically the same, just value is different. I always also put resistor across capacitor just in case. What is very important and to say here, always use like this with 2 switches for both sides when you drive your power supply. Thank you. Bye.